you don't say anything because then even the mic is very sensitive. It picks up all the noise. अच्छा, once you go live, अब आप जो ना
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام قال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له إذك بالله يبعده من الزوف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه فإذا وجهه يطلع كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وسمرة فؤادي فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صحب حوزي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وقاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي وشعف أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة نقي وابن أم رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو ما ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال له عليك السلام يا أخي يا وسيء وخليفتي وصحب لعائي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت والسلام عليك يا بعده يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بزعتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء ووامي بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل البيت وخاصتي وهامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وودو لمن آذاهم محب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فعجل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأزهق عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدية ولا قمرا منير ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يصدي إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل البيت نبوتي ومعدن الرسالة فاطمة وأبوها وبالها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أحبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك فاحبط. الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرؤك السلام ويقصوك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لعجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذنوا يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبريل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من فضل عند الله. فقال نبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبي واصطفاني الرسالة نجي ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيوتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة حفتهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي زين والله فزنا فاز شيتنا ورب الكعبة. قال نبي ثانية يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبي واصطفاني بالرسالة نجي ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيوتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وخزي الله حاجة. وقال علي زين والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيخنا فعزوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
بعد دیگر صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
بے قصوں کے مددگار مولا علی جز تیرے کوئی اپنا سہارا نہیں. بے قصوں کے مددگار مولا علی جز تیرے کوئی اپنا سہارا نہیں. تیرا در چھوڑ کر جائیں آخر کہاں غیر کا در جبھی کو گوارا نہیں. تیرا در چھوڑ کر جائیں آخر کہاں غیر کا در جبھی کو گوارا نہیں. This is the manqabat for to praise Imam Ali alayhi salam. So I apologize that I didn't seek your permission. But Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
جو علی کا نہیں وہ نبی کا نہیں, جو نبی کا نہیں وہ خدا کا نہیں, جو علی کا نہیں وہ نبی کا نہیں, جو نبی کا نہیں وہ خدا کا نہیں. اے مسلمان اصحاب سے پوچھ لے کیا یہ ام نبی نے پکارا نہیں. بے کسوں کے مددگار مولا علی، جز تیرے کوئی اپنا سہارا نہیں۔ آئے کعبے میں جس دم علی کے قدم، منہ کے بل گر پڑے بت یہ کہتے ہوئے، آئیے آئیے جانشین نبی، یہ تمہارا ہی گھر ہے ہمارا نہیں۔ آئیے آئیے جانشین نبی، یہ تمہارا ہی گھر ہے ہمارا نہیں۔ بے کسوں کے مددگار مولا علی، جز تیرے کوئی اپنا سہارا نہیں۔ وہ تو کم ظرف ہے جو تجھے چھوڑ دے، ورنہ مولا علی تیری تعظیم کو جو پلٹ کر نہ آئے وہ سورج نہیں، جو نہ چوکھٹ کو چومے وہ تارا نہیں، جو پلٹ کر نہ آئے وہ سورج نہیں، جو نہ چوکھٹ کو چومے وہ تارا نہیں۔ بے کسوں کے مددگار مولا علی، جز تیرے کوئی اپنا سہارا نہیں۔ پہلے تاریخ خیبر کی پڑھ لیجئے، پھر کوئی آخری فیصلہ کیجئے، یا یہ کہنا محمد بھی ہے بدعتی، یا یہ کہنا علی کو پکارا نہیں، یا یہ کہنا محمد بھی ہے بدعتی، یا یہ کہنا علی کو پکارا نہیں۔ جان خندق میں کیسے مسلمان تھے، جان خندق میں کیسے مسلمان تھے، تانے کفر چپ چاپ سنتے رہے، سب کے پہلو میں تلواریں موجود تھیں، امر کا سر کسی نے اتارا نہیں، سب کے پہلو میں تلواریں موجود تھیں، امر کا سر کسی نے اتارا نہیں۔ اے مسلمان حوادث سے ڈرتا ہے کیوں، تیرے رہبر ہے 14 ذرا غور کر، جی رہے ہیں حوادث، جی رہے ہیں زمانے میں وہ لوگ بھی جن کا کوئی بھی سچا سہارا نہیں۔ بے کسوں کے مددگار مولا علی، جز تیرے کوئی اپنا سہارا نہیں۔ بے کسوں کے مددگار مولا علی، جز تیرے کوئی اپنا سہارا نہیں۔ تیرا در چھوڑ کر جائیں آخر کہاں، غیر کا در جبھی کو گوارا نہیں۔ پر محمد والے محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔
Now I will request Brother Nasir Al-Abdar. Please come and recite.
بر محمد والے محمد صلوات. حیدر ہی نبرداز ماں ہر بار نہ ہوتے، حیدر ہی نبرداز ماں ہر بار نہ ہوتے، گر لشکر اسلام میں فرار نہ ہوتے، حیدر ہی نبرداز ماں ہر بار نہ ہوتے، بدر و احد و خندق و خیبر شب ہجرت، بدر و احد و خندق و خیبر شب ہجرت، کیا ہوتا اگر حیدر کرار نہ ہوتے، حیدر ہی نبرداز ماں ہر بار نہ ہوتے، دی اور بنو ہاشم پہ قیامت نہ گزرتی، دی اور بنو ہاشم پہ قیامت نہ گزرتی، اے کاش مسلمان جو وہ دو چار نہ ہوتے، خندق میں ہی ہو جاتی نگوں شوکت اسلام، خندق میں نگوں ہوتی شوکت اسلام، حیدر بھی اگر لڑنے پہ تیار نہ ہوتے، تھی شرط رجل پھر بھی تمنا تھی علم کی، تھی شرط رجل پھر بھی تمنا تھی علم کی، ہوتے نالی تب بھی وہ حقدار نہ ہوتے، بدبخت کبھی چھوڑ کے جاتے نالی کو، بدبخت کبھی چھوڑ کے جاتے نالی کو، اس سمت اگر درہم و دینار نہ ہوتے، من کن تو کے معنی جو سمجھ لیتے مسلمان، من کن تو کے معنی جو سمجھ لیتے مسلمان، مولا سے کبھی برسرے پیکار نہ ہوتے، جاں بیچ کے سوئے تھے علی یوں شب ہجرت، جاں بیچ کے سوئے تھے علی یوں شب ہجرت، دشمن نہ جگاتے تو وہ بیدار نہ ہوتے، کر لیتے اگر بیعت شیخین علی بھی، کر لیتے اگر بیعت شیخین علی بھی، باقی جو ہیں اسلام کے آثار نہ ہوتے، حیدر ہی نورداز ماں ہر بار نہ ہوتے، پر محمد والے محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Now I will request Qibla Sheikh Adris to come and recite the Melad for Imam Zain Abideen al-Islam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بارے دیگر نعرے صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. وصلى الله على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Tonight I would like to discuss something that happened to Zain al-Abideen alayhi salatu wasalam, so we can actually reflect on ourselves. And I really want to study a part of his biography and how he used to interact with his Shia. But before that, we should remember, and we discussed that in the previous majlis, that no doubt that Imam Zain al-Abideen used to live in a tough environment. The environment of Bani Umayyah, the oppression of Bani Umayyah. So that's why few people used to interact with him. Few Shia, they were able to meet him and to ask him questions. We can say that Zain al-Abideen, if we want to use a modern language, a law language, we can say that he was under house arrest or home confinement, résidence surveillée in French. So basically, he couldn't talk and he couldn't meet people around him. And also, the contrary, people couldn't meet him and ask him questions about fiqh, the religion, etc. And Sheikh al-Saduq, rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, in his book, Kamal al-Din, or Itmam al-Ni'ma, he narrated a really good narration from An-Nubakhti. Nubakhti basically is a great scholar who actually had the chance to meet Imam al-Zaman. And he also was the one who exposed a famous Sufi al-Hallaj. So this great scholar called An-Nubakhti, and he had the chance, like I said, to meet Imam al-Zaman, he had a book called At-Tanbih. And in that book, he's gonna describe the condition of your Imam, Imam Zain al-Abideen, how he used to live there. He said, وقتل الحسين بن علي عليه السلام وخلف علي بن الحسين متقارب السن كانت سنه أقل من 20 سنة. So basically he's saying that Hussein ibn Ali, Sayyid al-Shuhada, was martyred of course, and he left behind him Imam Zain al-Abideen as his successor. And Imam Zain al-Abideen, he was around 20 years old at that time. And then he said, ثم انقبض عن الناس فلم يلقى أحدا. He said he remained aloof from people, يعني away from people. And he didn't meet anyone except the close companions. And here he's explaining why he did that. He said, obviously he's saying, وَكَانَ فِي نِهَايَةِ الْعِبَادَةِ. He was saying that in terms of ibadah, worship, he was an advanced level. Of course, it's Zain al-Abideen. It's like our Imam. Then he said, وَلَمْ يَخْرُجْ عَنْهُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا يَسِيرًا لِصُعُوبَةِ الزَّمَانِ وَجَوْرِ بَنِي أُمَيَّةَ. So he said very less could be obtained from his knowledge. Very less. Why? Because he was living in circumstances that were severe and harsh and tough because of the oppression of Bani Umayyah. And actually you can see that if you open the books of our books of Ahadith, you're gonna see that most of our Ahadith were transmitted from Imam al-Sadiq and al-Baqir, alayhim as-salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And there is an explanation for that. Yes, Imam al-Sadiq and Imam al-Baqir, they used to live also in a tough environment. Yes, that's true. But there is something in the history that you should look into. At that time of Imam al-Sadiq, Banu Umayyah, they were fighting Banu Abbas. So they were like a kind of gap or a chance for Imam to spread the religion, which was not the case of Zain al-Abideen. The time of Zain al-Abideen was too tough, like was just after istishhad of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. So here we can ask, and this is my point. Yes, he remained aloof, away from his companions. He was meeting really few people. And the most famous explanation, and also it's a really like legit explanation, is why. Yeah, everyone is gonna tell you, if you are asking historians, they're gonna tell you, yeah, of course, it was like, I said, he was living under arrest. He couldn't meet people and people couldn't meet him. But here, few people, if we read carefully the history, this is really important. When you read the history, we have to read the history from all sides. And that's why tonight, I really want you to reflect on what I'm gonna say. Because yes, Imam Zain al-Abideen didn't meet people because of the Umayyah, Bani Umayyah. But there is another explanation that I'm gonna tell you. And this explanation is how he was interacting with Shia. I'm gonna be a little bit precise. Were Shia of that time, they were really loyal to Imam Zain al-Abideen? Maybe this is the case why he was not meeting them. And actually, there is an amazing hadith in Al-Kafi. Al-Kafi is one of the most important books from Al-Kulayni. The last volume, Rawdat al-Kafi, he's describing a scene that I just want you to imagine that scene. Basically, it's a beautiful hadith. When I was reading that, I said, I have to share it with you. So Imam Zain al-Abideen was sitting in a majlis like this, a private gathering, private majlis, and close to him, his son, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam, Abu Ja'far.
اللهم صل
اللهم
على
صل على
محمد وآل محمد.
And in front of him, there were people, they were claiming Shia. Yeah, they were Shia actually, yeah, his companions. So they were sitting together. And here is the hadith that I really want you to share, and I'm gonna comment this hadith. All of this hadith is narrated from Imam al-Baqir. He's describing to us what's happening in that private gathering, private majlis. He said, قال أبي يوما وعنده أصحابه من منكم تطيب نفسه أن يأخذ جمرة في كفه فيمسكها حتى تطفى. So basically, Imam Baqir is saying that one day my father was in the presence of our companions, and he asked them, which one of you is good enough to hold an ember? Ember is like a hot piece of coal, charcoal, in his hand, and to squeeze it and to press it until you extinguish that charcoal. So basically it was a test. He wanted to test them. So imagine you have your Imam, he is telling you that, bring the charcoal, hot piece of charcoal, put it in your hand and press it like this. So basically who is saying that? Is Imam Ma'soom. I'm hujjah on you. When I'm saying something, when I'm telling you to do something, you have to do it. You don't have to think. This is your Imam. So here what's happening, that's gonna be a lesson for us tonight. Imam al-Baqir is saying, قال فكاع الناس كلهم ونكر. He said all the people around Imam Zain al-Abideen, they were silent. They stressed out and they refrained from doing it. They were just sitting like this and they were like, no, sorry. Like they were silent, but they were doing nothing. Here what's happening. When Imam al-Baqir heard about that, because he was there, he said immediately to his father, immediately, فَقُمْتُ وَقُلْتُ يَا أَبَتَ أَتَأْمُرًا أَفْعَلْ. So basically, what's Imam Baqir? His Ma'soom. He stood up like this and he said, oh father, I'm gonna do what you're telling me. Don't forget one thing. Imam al-Baqir, Imam Zain al-Abideen, is not just the father of Imam al-Baqir. That's not just his father. Remember, that's his Imam also. Imam Zain al-Abideen is the Imam of Imam al-Baqir. His hujjah on it. So when he's saying something, that's not just, oh, that's my father, he's asking me to do something, which is good actually. But no, that's his father. And here Imam Zain al-Abideen is replying something amazing to him. He said, فقال ليس إياك عليت إنما أنت مني وأنا منك. He said, it's not you that I meant by that command or order. You are from me, and I am from you. Ahl al-Bayt. But I meant by that command those people. It was directed to them. It was a test. He was testing them to see if they're gonna obey the Imam or not. And here, alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, he repeated thrice the same command to his companions. He said, فقال وكررها ثلاثا. So imagine the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam Zain al-Abideen repeating 3 times the same order, the same command. Listen, if we were at that time, we should trust our Imam. But believe me, I'm saying why it's a lesson for us. Because I'm not sure. If, me included, myself, if I was at that time, seriously, am I sure I'm gonna follow my Imam? No, I'm saying that because I'm living here right now, the Imam is not testing me, so it's always easy to say yes, if I was at that time, I will do that. But let's think about it carefully. You really think you're gonna do it? We don't know. So that's why what Imam said to them, we should reflect on ourselves, especially when the Imam al-Zaman is gonna come. Are we ready? It's always easy to talk. And here Imam Zain al-Abideen alayhi salatu wasalam, he's gonna say something really heavy on us. He said something, he said, ثم قال ما أكثر الوصف وأقل الفعل إن أهل الفعل قليل. He said, how much is the talk and how less is the action? He said, the people of action are indeed few. That's true. I mean, even nowadays, if you're thinking about it, I can say 99%, the majority of people, they're talking because it's easy to talk, but when it comes to act, to move into action, to do something, a few people are doing it. And it's not in the hadith, but believe me, if one of those companions, believe me, if one of those companions had, if he followed what Imam said at that time when he told him to hold that hot piece of charcoal, believe me, he will feel no pain. No pain. Why? Because it was a test. And I'm going to share with you something that what Imam said and did, that's exactly what happened before our creation. Before the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal, we can call it the pre-existent, like we were atoms. And before Allah created us, we were nur. He created a big fire. We can find this in Al-Kafir also, if I'm not wrong. And when he created this big fire, he commanded us, as we were nur before, he commanded us to enter the fire. That was a command. That was an order. Imagine the first people who entered the fire were believers, and those who refused, they were disbelievers. I remember one day when I was in Hausa, I used to ask a question. That's a normal question. Everyone has the right to ask. Why Allah Azza wa Jal? Why Allah Azza wa Jal chose the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Why him? Why another person? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was prophet before his creation. He was already when he was into this creation, he was already prophet. You know that. So why him, not another person? You can ask yourself. That's your right to ask. This is aqidah. It's your right. You can say, oh, it's unfair. No, it's fair actually. Why? Because this is what I said. Before the creation, Allah has tested all of us. And he created that big fire. And people who entered first, they were believers. And you know what happened to them? To those believers who entered? Actually, that fire was called in safety for them. So it was just a test. And remember, it's exactly when Allah Azza wa Jal said in the Quran, when Ibrahim was in that fire, he said to the fire, "O fire, be you cold and safety for Ibrahim. قلنا يا نور كوني سلاما وبردا على إبراهيم." So exactly the same thing happened. And I'm gonna just throw this information to you. The same test is gonna happen to the ignorant of this time. You might ask, yes, some people nowadays they know nothing about Islam. They don't know who is the Prophet Muhammad. They don't know who is Sayyidah Fatima. They don't know who is Imam Ali. Are you gonna tell me that after life they're gonna go to hellfire? Seriously? That's unfair. They didn't reach the truth. So you cannot say, oh, every non-Muslim, they're gonna go to hellfire. No. Actually, after life, Allah Azza wa Jal, they're gonna give them a chance. They're gonna test them. I'm talking about the people who couldn't reach the truth. We have a lot of people, even here in Canada, north of Canada, they were asking him, who is the Prophet Muhammad? I don't know. There are some people, they cannot search. They don't have the technology to search. That's not their fault. We cannot judge them. So Allah Azza wa Jal, they're going to test them with the same test afterlife. And this is what's happening. Imam Zain al-Abideen, he's going to say something to them. He said, Inna ahl al-fi'la qaleel. So he said, people of action are really few, which is true till nowadays. ألا وإن لنعرف أهل الفعل والوصف معا. He said, we recognize us, Ahl al-Bayt, the people of thought and action, both. We can distinguish who are who. And he said, وما كان هذا منا عاليا عليكم بل لنبلو أخباركم ونكتب آثاركم. He said, what I'm doing to you, it's not a blindness test from us toward you. It's just we want to see how you're gonna react. Are you gonna obey your Imam? Yes or no? That was a test. It's not a blindness test, like a child, So here Imam Zain al-Abideen, after this, you know what happened? Actually, I should not laugh, but this is amazing what Imam al-Baqir, what he's gonna tell us. He said, so when Imam described them like that, Imam al-Baqir is saying, فقال والله لكأنما مادت بهم الأرض حياء مما قال حتى إني لأنظر إلى الرجل منهم يرفض عرقا ما يرفع عينيه من الأرض. So all this time Imam al-Baqir was there and he was looking at this scene, what's happening. You know what happened to these people that were there? He said that those people, it was like if the earth, he said, if it's as if the earth has shaken them with shame. And he said, Imam al-Baqir, and I was looking at one guy, he was sitting in the majlis, and he was like this. He was sweating a lot, and he was looking at the back. He couldn't raise his head. He was like this, and he was sweating a lot. He wasn't like, I can say he was like in a depression mode. So basically they were destroyed mentally, those people. Imagine your Imam is saying people of action are really few. And after that, how are you gonna react? You're gonna say, oh, sorry, Imam, I'm gonna do it right now. No, obviously you're not gonna do it right now. He repeated three times, and you refuse to follow the command of the Imam, Zain al-Abideen. So when Imam, he saw them like that, depressed, stressed, one of them was sweating a lot, another person was like this, he couldn't raise his head. We can say, they were ashamed, actually. Imam Zain al-Abideen, with his mercy, cannot leave them like that. I will repeat, if you see someone in a depression, you cannot leave him like that. It's too dangerous. So what Imam Zain al-Abideen is going to do here is going to try to reconfort. Imam Zain al-Abideen, they refuse to obey him, but even though they refuse to obey him, he's going to show you guys all his mercy. He said, alayhi salatu wassalam, فَلَمَّا رَأَى ذَلِكَ مِنْهُمْ قَالَ رَحِمَكُمُ اللَّهِ فَمَا أَرَدْتُ إِلَّا خَيْرًا. Allah. When he saw that situation among them, all of them stressed, sweating, I don't know, one guy, he cannot even raise his head, etc. He said, may Allah have mercy on me. I have not intended except the good for you. I want just the good for you, the best for you. Imagine the Imam is saying that after refusing him, subhanallah. And he said something really important. He said, Inna al-jannata darajat. He said in the paradise, we have different levels in the paradise. Ahlul fi'l la yudrikaha ahadun min ahlul qawl. He said in the paradise there is different levels. People of action, Like, for example, who? Ibn Mutufil, Salman, Miqdad, Abu Dhar, Al-Kabuli. There's one Sahaba called Al-Kabuli. Those are people of action. He's saying the people of action, the level of the people, cannot be understood by the people of talk or just talking. However, look how the Imam is merciful. Subhanallah, rahmah. But don't worry. The people of talk, also their level cannot be understood by others. He meant by that yes, listen, people like Salman, Miqdad, etc., Al-Kabuli, I'm not talking about Bani Hashim. Bani Hashim are out of the league. They cannot be understood by people, but normal people who are just talking and they're not acting. But don't worry, people who are talking, and Shia, they're believing in Ahlul Bayt, at least. They cannot be compared to others who are not believing Aslan in Ahlul Bayt, who are not following them. So here is what I want you to reflect on. After this beautiful hadith, and it's something that can happen, imagine after the Imam al-Zaman alayhi salatu wasalam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
After reading this hadith, I was wondering and reflecting if I was living at the time of as-Saqifa. How would we react? How can I react if I'm seeing Imam Ali oppressed by those people? And I was thinking about myself. That's so easy to say, oh yes, I'm gonna fight with Imam Ali, I'm gonna be with Salman, I'm gonna take my sword, and then we're gonna fight those oppressors. But I was saying, no, maybe, yes, maybe I'm not gonna be with the oppressors, but maybe I'm gonna be in my house sitting. And this is what happened. Like majority of people, of companions of Imam Ali, they were sitting in their house. They were not moving. And they used to love Imam Ali. I'm not saying they used to hate Imam Ali. They used to love Imam Ali. They used to say, we are Shi'at Imam Ali. But how many of them followed Imam Ali? How many? Even Ammar came a little bit later, alayhi salam. Yeah, Ammar. Even Ammar came later. I don't want you to understand me wrongly here, but I can say that because of the rahmah of Allah, we're not being tested by Imam. Because if Imam has tested us, I'm talking of myself, I don't know how I'm gonna react. So that's why tonight I really wanted to share this side of Imam Zain al-Abideen and how he interacted with Shia. And at the end of the hadith, you can see that Imam is still merciful because he's rahmah, Allah arhamar rahimin. So obviously the Imam. So I really want you, after this majlis, to reflect, me included, of course, on how we're gonna face Imam al-Zaman alayhi salatu wasalam. Obviously, he's gonna test us to see if we're gonna follow him or not. And I didn't want to bring a lot of details, so we can keep it simple and we can reflect on ourselves. And sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. On behalf of all of our community, we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Jazakallah.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.